thanks for this.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to January 28th. Those for Rotary meeting, please silence your cell phones. As Frank Atkinson comes up, we are Rotarian of the day for the prayer, pledge, and four-way test.
I keep doing this lately, so let's open up prayer. Lord, thank you for many blessings. Thank you for this club. Let's reach out to our community and connect. Thank you for his food. It nourishes us and makes us stronger. Thank you for our guest speaker today. And we pray for the new administration coming into our presence. We ask for these things in your name. Amen. Amen. Pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Four-way test. The things we think, say, or do. First, it is the truth. Second, it is fair to all concerned. Third, will build and will better friendships. Fourth, will be beneficial to all concerned. And fifth,
Is it fun?
right.
Thank you, Frank. As you sit down, don't forget the blue buckets for Alzheimer's research. Last week we had $11, and then we matched $11. Okay, thank you. Okay, want to introduce some of your visitors?
I have with us Mr. Bill Lindsay. He's our CEO for Ortho Georgia. I have Susan Scruggs. She's our public relations administrator, I guess. And then I have Dr. Toth, which you'll meet soon.
Thank you. Do we have any prayer requests?
Joe,
Yes, go ahead.
we just need to keep Susan Allen in our prayers. Her husband passed away a couple of weeks ago, so please keep her in your prayers. Continue to pray for Bert. I don't know that their addresses, if any of you want to send them cards, but just please keep them in your prayers.
Thank you. And the other one? Don't forget February 3rd, the first Wednesday of the month, we will resume our morning makeups for those that want to go to Bojangles, 7:30 a.m. Any other announcements? Okay. John.
Well, good afternoon. I've been on sports medicine scene around Milledgeville for a long time, so I've had experiences with several different orthopedic surgeons, and some good, some not so good. Unfortunately, some of y'all probably know that. So when I heard that we were going to have a new physician come into our community, I was cautiously excited. You never know what you're going to get. Then I read his resume, and so he did his fellowship, and I'm thinking, we got a arrogant hotshot coming. What I was initially what I was thinking. I was like, oh God, I couldn't have been further from the truth. Over the past few months, I've got to know Dr. Toth on the, in the clinical setting and on the sidelines. And what I found is that he actually and truly cares for his patients and goes the extra mile to make sure that they know they got the best care possible. Then we are so lucky to have him in this community. And I think what impressed upon me the most is he's a family man first. It's hard to find that these days. So it's my privilege to introduce you to Dr. Matthew Toth.
All right. So thank you everyone for having me today. Everyone can hear me okay? As Larry said, my name is Matthew Toth. Again, I want to thank everyone here and at home for coming today and hearing me talk a little bit and giving me the opportunity to speak to you about my background and my practice here in Milledgeville. As Larry said, I'm an orthopedic surgeon with Ortho Georgia, and I specialize in sports medicine, and I've been practicing here since September of last year. So just a little bit of background on me first. Originally, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, up in the bitter cold up there, and I've been slowly migrating south over the past decade and a half. This is my family in a good old picture from when I was little back in the late 80s, as you can tell by the getup. These are my parents, Peter and Nancy. I am an only child. I am proud to say that I'm actually first-generation American, as my father was born in Bavaria in southern Germany and came to this country when he was young with his parents and his family with nothing but the clothes on their backs and about $20. And through his hard work and my opa's hard work, he's had a very successful career in the banking industry and really raised a wonderful family and has really given me all the wonderful opportunities that I've had. I'm very proud of him and my mom as well for all that they've done for me. My mom's family, actually, interestingly, we just learned came over on the Mayflower with the Pilgrims, so we kind of got both ends of the spectrum in terms of immigrants, in terms of coming to this country. Just a few embarrassing pictures to kind of lighten the mood to start. As you'll kind of see, I love sports and especially baseball. I played baseball a lot growing up. I started at an early age. I picked up the bat swinging lefty, as you can see here, and got started early. And you know, I love spending time with my parents. I really just wanted to always hang out with them, as you can see there as well. Being from Cleveland, I am a huge Cleveland sports fan. And this picture on the left is actually from the '95 World Series that my dad and I went to, where the Braves actually beat us. And I'm still working on forgiving them living here now, but we're coming close. You know, given that it's the National League, it's coming okay. But we had a lot of fun during those awesome '90s Indians teams. Picture on the right is actually two of my favorite players growing up. On the left is Omar Vizquel, and on the right is Sandy Alomar Jr., who I actually got to meet at a baseball camp at Jacobs Field one year. Something else that I love to do, and my dad loves as well, is fishing, and he taught me that from an early age, going on Lake Erie or all the lakes and ponds around in Cleveland. And that's actually my first fish that I caught there on the left. Actually, it was an indoor fishing site at what they call the IX Center, where they did a convention center. I caught my first fish there. And then the one on the right is actually from a fishing derby that was actually a winner. I caught the first fish, and that actually won me that tackle box there. I was probably always destined to be an orthopedic surgeon. I always loved building things, especially Legos and Connects, and playing with tools, and playing in my grandfather's workshop, who did a lot of construction stuff. And you know, a lot of people say that orthopedic surgeons are really the carpenters of the body, and that's kind of what drew me to that, and you know, growing up, a lot of what I did. As I said before, too, baseball was big for me growing up, and especially all sports. We traveled a lot for baseball. This is from a tournament down at Disney that we went and won when I was older. But I also played other sports too. I played soccer, and I was also on our grade school's jump rope team, which was a big thing at the time. And we were the Bassett Hip Hoppers, and actually on the morning, we're actually on the morning news one day too, which was kind of cool. For high school, I went to a school called St. Ignatius in inner city West Cleveland. And it was an all-guys Jesuit high school. And for those of you who don't know, Jesuit is an order of Catholicism. This was really, much to my wife's dismay, because I met my wife in college. This was really my most important schooling. It really taught me the values and you know, lessons about being a man and being a man for others, which was one of the school's mottos. That really are an important part of who I am and who I've become. The great thing about this school too is that there's a big fraternity, so to speak, and all the connections we've made, and still have a lot of friends from there who live across the country and around the world. And this is really where my love for science and medicine began too. One of our claims to fame, and I'll brag a little bit about this, I don't like to do too much, but was while I was there, we were actually featured in this issue of Sports Illustrated. It was one of the top 25 high school athletic programs in the country. That was during my junior year in 2005. We were a very big sports school, also academics. Academics was the priority, and we always had among the most national merit scholars in the state. But sports were big too. We were ranked number 18 in the country and number 1 in Ohio. And we're especially big for football and soccer. Football has won 11 of the last 30 state championships for Division I, which is, I think, the equivalent of Division VI here. That's big school, which everybody follows. And they've pumped out a lot of great players, a lot of great athletes over the years. A few to name include Super Bowl champion Brian Hoyer, who I actually had the privilege of playing baseball with a little bit. Anthony Gonzalez, who was a wide receiver and is now a congressman, and Olympic gold medalist pole vaulter Tim Mack, just to name a few. As I said, football was a big sport, winning all the national state championships, and I won 4 national championships as well. I still follow the football team every year and watch and all the sports as they go along. They've done a great job. Really teach good hard work and ethical values in terms of sportsmanship, which was important. I put this up here because I'm not sure if anybody knows the show or remembers it from the late 90s and early 2000s, but originally I wanted to be a lawyer in the Navy. I had a lot of family members in the military, specifically the Marine Corps, and I probably wanted to do that because I loved watching the show growing up, and it's probably because of all the action, but that drew me. That was until I had high school biology, and I had one of the best teachers that I ever had, who was a great mentor to me. Not only taught us about biology, and probably because he focused a lot on the molecular and cellular biology, which interests me the most and I hadn't done until that point, but taught a lot of life lessons as well. As a good mentor for how to be a role model for others and a true man for others. And that would be what I would go on to study later in college. And so, of course, I had a show. I continued baseball in high school, and that really, as I mentioned, led to a lot of my interest in sports medicine and treating overhead athletes. Interesting, I actually got cut my freshman year of high school because the coach told me I was too short to play baseball. But I didn't really let that stop me, and I ended up making the JV team and then was a 2-year varsity letterman too. After high school, I continued with the Jesuit theme and sort of drank the Jesuit Kool-Aid and started my migration south down to Georgetown in Washington, D.C. And I had the intent of going pre-med and studying biology. I really had to choose at that point between baseball and pre-med because the schedules conflicted a lot. The baseball team practiced from like 12 to 4 every day, and that was right when all our labs were. So I ended up choosing pre-med, and so far that's been a pretty good decision, I would say. I don't know if I would have made it very far professionally. During my sophomore year, though, I made this a little bit more complicated, and as I was already declared pre-med and a biology major, I had the opportunity to apply to the Georgetown Medical School as a sophomore, and I was fortunate to be accepted through the Joseph Sweeney Scholar Program. Most students apply, take the MCATs, and then apply between their junior and senior year for medical school. But this was a special program designed to allow us to get the most out of our undergraduate education. So instead of taking the MCATs, I was already doing a biology major with a thesis. That was a requirement, but I also added minors in French and Catholic studies on top of that in place of taking the MCATs. French was something that I had done for a long time since middle school, and I did all 4 years of high school and also in college. It was just something that interested me. We didn't have German growing up, otherwise I probably would have done that with my family's background, but I loved doing French. And I was fortunate to spend 7 weeks abroad in France studying between my junior and senior years. Something that Georgetown really tried to stress in terms of studying abroad. Catholic studies was also something that was important to me, and as you can probably tell from my school choices, my faith has been pretty important to me over the years, and I've been very active in from high school as a Eucharistic minister, and then the Mass coordinator at Georgetown for 7 years while I was there. I really wanted to combine this with my passions for medicine and biology. And so I ended up writing a thesis, which was, what does it mean to be a Catholic physician, a guidebook for aspiring medical students. And that was a really formative time for me in terms of looking at my values and being a physician. And there's a lot of people find conflict between the two, but I actually found a lot that goes together and a lot that helps guide what I do today. Part of that was I was very fortunate to interview Dr. Ed Pellegrino, who has since passed away. But he was the head of the President's Council on Bioethics under George W. Bush and directly worked with the president. Another big thing that I started during college, and I'll throw in here as well, and I've always loved for a long time, was going to rock concerts. If you ever in my OR, I always have rock and roll on. And that's something that I grew up with my dad. He always used to quiz me whenever practices. He'd have something, good on the radio to pump me up, and but then he'd start quizzing me. Who is this? What year is it? What album? Who's playing bass? All that kind of stuff. And so I've been to see quite a few good bands, to name just The Who, AC/DC, Eric Clapton, Heart, Def Leppard, Don Feldman, the Moody Blues were actually my favorite band. And embarrassingly to me, but this was for a birthday present for my wife, Taylor Swift. All that somewhat so-called, what my mom would say, useless knowledge would actually come in handy for residency, because when we're fourth-year medical students, we go to different sites where we want to go for residency, and you do like a month-long audition rotation. And the chairman in Orlando was a big rock and roll fan. He would play all that stuff in the OR, and he would do the same thing when there's 3 of us med students in there doing, helping with surgery with him. He'd put on AC/DC radio and start quizzing us. Okay, who is this? What singer, all that. And because it was AC/DC radio, everybody else has AC/DC, but it's not always AC/DC. So I ended up getting about probably 80% of the questions right, and I think that helped me get into residency, to be honest with you. I called my dad up after that, and I told him, hey, you actually taught me something. He laughed. We joked about it, but most importantly, though, during college is during my senior year, I ran into this girl, and this is my wife, Ashell. It's like I found Ashell on the seashore. Her mom is named Michelle, and so she wanted to be something similar, and so she named her Ashell. I was actually friends with her roommate in a bunch of her classes the first several years. We were both pre-med, not my wife, but her friend. My wife was actually an English major. And we actually lived in the same building for the first 2 years, but we never ran into each other until we were introduced by our mutual friend, and kind of the rest is history. We met during what they call senior disorientation at the beginning of our senior year, which is kind of a week-long celebration to get things started. It was actually rather scary to me looking back on it, and I've actually had some nightmares about it, because what ended up happening is that I went to her that night and went and was supposed to go hang out with some of my roommates at one of our favorite spots called the Tombs, which is an underground bar there. And she ended up fortunately coming with me, and we spent the night kind of dancing and danced to our first song, which was Journey's Don't Stop Believin', of course. And kind of the rest is history from there. But if she hadn't come with me, I don't know what would have happened. Fortunately, after 5 years, she agreed to marry me. I'm not sure why, but we got married at Dahlgren Chapel, which is Georgetown, and that's where I was the mass coordinator for 7 years. That had a lot of special meaning to me because of that. Dahlgren Chapel is actually well-known, kind of eerily well-known, because of a scene in The Exorcist, because The Exorcist was filmed at Georgetown, if anyone knows that. But like I said, it had special meaning for me being a Eucharistic minister and the mass coordinator there for 7 years. And so we ended up getting married there at the end of med school. And that is a picture of me crying. I really couldn't help it when I saw her walking down the aisle. For medical school, as I said, I went to Georgetown, and Georgetown's really well known for having med students go into orthopedics. We usually have among the most in the country. Normally schools have about 3 or 4. We had 18 go into orthopedics. And there was great mentorship there in terms of the physicians. I was actually between ENT and orthopedics, and just my rotations and the anatomy and the procedures that we get to do, and my experience with athletes and sports is really what drew me to doing orthopedics. I did my residency at Orlando Health, so continuing to migrate further south. And these are my classmates here. We're with the Trauma Chopper. I spent 5 years here, and this was one of the busiest trauma centers in the country. We did probably over 2,000 surgeries, which is among the top 5th percentile in the country for all residents. It's actually becoming well known for its research as well. One of the big things that happened during my residency was the Pulse nightclub shooting, if y'all remember, on July 12th, 2016. That actually happened 3 blocks away from the hospital that I worked at. And that was, at the time, was the worst mass shooting in American history until the shooting in Las Vegas. That was a very trying time during residency. We spent a lot of late nights working on people. It was a very difficult time, really, for sure. I was very proud of our team from the orthopedics department because we had by and far the most surgeries to do of anybody. But we really kept our heads down. We didn't seek any publicity. We didn't put anything about bloody shoes on the internet that you may have read about. And it was really truly an honor to help take care of those patients. And we really bonded together as a group. Sorry, on a little bit lighter note, during residency, I was involved in a lot of sports coverage. I was an assistant team physician actually for the Atlanta Braves because they do their spring training down at Disney, or they used to. I think they moved since then. But also the Washington Nationals, the Orlando City Soccer Club, the Orlando Solar Bears minor league hockey team, as well as several high schools, and an event physician for the Arnold Palmer Invitational. We got to meet Arnold Palmer one year. Most importantly, during residency was this little guy was born in my 4th year. That's my son Harrison with my wife, and I couldn't have asked for more joy or more happiness with him. We really love him so much, and it's really the best thing that's ever happened to us. I know it kind of sounds cliche and whatnot, but I truly understand that from what people, when people say that. I figured I'd share a few gratuitous pictures of him. I could go on for days with this because we've actually taken a picture of him every single day of his life, because both of our parents live far away. My wife's family is from Oregon, and my family lives in Cleveland. So because they're far away, we send them a picture of him every day so that they can continue to feel involved and see what's going on. He is definitely a big baseball fan, and especially a Cleveland Indians fan. That hat there is actually pretty valuable because Chief Watt, who does not exist anymore, is going to be renamed. But he loves baseball. He also loves Star Wars like his daddy, and as you can notice here, he picks up the bat lefty too. I didn't even have to teach him that. That's something in the genes. He loved Disney when we were down there too in Orlando, and is definitely a water baby too. He loves getting out in the water. He may be an orthopedic surgeon too. He loves playing with tools, helping around the house. This is actually our house. He's driving pine straw around. He's already learned how to do a below knee amputation on me there. He got his own little white coat for his birthday this year with a little doctor's office that he loves to play in. He loves going out fishing at nighttime too off our dock. After residency, I did my fellowship at the prestigious Andrews Institute in Pensacola, Florida. Dr. Andrews, who's in the yellow coat here at our graduation, we're all messed up because of COVID. He's really the godfather of sports medicine, and he's the one that all the professional athletes come to see whenever they're injured. I had a great opportunity to take care of a lot of these professional athletes, especially NFL players and Major League Baseball players as well, and learn many of the techniques that Dr. Andrews helped pioneer and has made true to the test over the years through sports medicine and arthroscopy. One of the cool things that happened during fellowship was my time helping take care of the University of West Florida. And in fellowship, we all help take care of different schools in the area. We get assigned to high school, and then we're also assigned to college. And the three colleges that we take care of, three colleges we take care of are Auburn, West Florida, and Tuskegee. Everybody always wants Auburn going in because it's Auburn, a big SEC school. You get to fly around in Dr. Andrews' private jet to all the different games. The only thing about that, though, is you're probably the 18th physician on the sideline. There's Dr. Andrews, there's all the primary care sports guys, there's fellows from Andrews in Birmingham, there's cardiothoracic surgeons, ENTs, so you really don't get to do anything if you're there. You're kind of just watching. And actually, interesting, the guy who covered Auburn actually went to University of Georgia, so that was actually very tough for him to do. I ended up with a couple of my other fellows at the University of West Florida, which was awesome because it was the closest, for one thing. I didn't have to drive from Pensacola up to Tuskegee to go to games. But we also, it was just us and Dr. Ostrander and Dr. Hackle who are there in the middle, and that picture in the middle. Dr. Ostrander is an orthopedic surgeon, and Dr. Hackle is a primary care doc, and they let us do everything. If we had to reduce something or use ultrasound, diagnose fractures, whatever it was, we were running the show basically, and they're just there for support. So we really got a good hands-on opportunity working on the sideline. The best thing about it was, though, that we ended up winning the Division II national championship for football. The team had actually had a football program for 4 years, and they'd already been to the national championship once and won. But this year they came winning. We got to travel around the country, flying in Dr. Ostrander's private jet, which was nice. But go around the country with them to games, and then go to Dallas for the national championship game. And this picture on the left here is actually me putting an IV, which I hadn't done in years, in one of our stud wide receivers, who actually ended up having a Michael Jordan flu game. He was diagnosed with the flu the morning of the championship game and still wanted to play, and put an IV in him before the game at halftime, and he ended up setting a championship game record for catches and yards in the game. So that was pretty special. It was a really special run overall. They beat 4 undefeated teams, 3 #1 seeds. It was really a true Cinderella story, and we were able to get the trophy in the office. The other cool thing that came just about a month ago was this ring that I wear for speaking engagements now that they sent. I didn't expect that they were going to send it to us. We were trying to angle for it and see if we could get one, but it was pretty cool, and my son was really excited about it and to play around with it too. So that really brings me to the present, and I was fortunate during my job search during fellowship to find Ortho Georgia and to meet Bill and everyone here, and to have this position here in Milledgeville to come and serve the community. And so I want to talk about my practice for just a few minutes. As an orthopedic surgeon with a specialty in sports medicine, I take care of all parts of the musculoskeletal system. So as I mentioned before, I have advanced training in sports medicine and minimally invasive techniques with arthroscopy, where we use small poke hole incisions and special fiber optic cameras and instruments to perform both complex and simple procedures in different joints in the body. Arthroscopy can be performed in really almost any joint in the body, and some of the ones I specialize in are the shoulder, hip, knee, elbow, and ankle. Being a sports medicine surgeon, though, doesn't mean I just take care of athletes. So I take care of patients of all ages and different problems. We really take care of a lot of general orthopedic problems as well, be it arthritis, infections, fractures, and in my opinion, really, arthritis is kind of the end game of sports medicine. From all the wear and tear that you go through in life, that kind of leads your joints to break down and wear out, and that's something that we deal with as well. Sports medicine really isn't just about treating athletes, but getting you back to doing what you want to do or love to do, be it a sport, an activity, going to work, playing with your family, anything like that. Sports medicine specialists are especially adept too at performing joint replacements, because joint replacements not only involve bony work, but a lot of soft tissue balancing as well, which is what we deal with on a daily basis with our athletes. And I perform joint replacements of the shoulder, the hip, and the knee. So some of the different joints and the problems that I help take care of include with the shoulder, rotator cuff pathology, dislocations and labral tears, bursitis and frozen shoulder, fractures and arthritis, arthroscopy, as I mentioned, joint restoration and preservation, and then shoulder replacements, both total and reverse replacements and revisions. With the elbow, all sorts of problems there as well, tennis and golfer's elbow, biceps tears and tendinitis, triceps tears, fracture care, arthroscopy, and then more rare, because this is mostly just in baseball players, but ulnar collateral ligament reconstruction, or what you may know as Tommy John surgery, which Dr. Andrews helped pioneer as well. In terms of the hip, fracture management and impingement, labral tears and repairs, tendinitis and tendon tears and repairs, including hamstrings, arthroscopy and arthritis, and hip replacements as well. And then finally, in terms of the knee, cartilage injury, tendinitis, ligament tears, including ACL tears, meniscal tears and repairs, arthroscopy, fractures, arthritis, platelet-rich plasma injections, and total knee replacements. And then sports medicine also includes other areas in the body too, like the ankle or the back as well. We take care of those problems too. Last thing I want to talk about is just my involvement in the community, and I'm very well involved with a lot of the high schools around here and the schools around here. That's one thing I love to do. As I mentioned, I still follow my high school in the sports, and I love high school sports probably more than any other level. And so I really want to be involved in those schools here. I'm the team physician for John Milledge Academy, but I also help out with some of the other schools, including GMC and the junior college, Baldwin County, and some of the schools over in Wilkinson County and Eatonton as well, and Georgia College as well, where I'm the medical director for the athletic training program. This picture actually here is Larry and I at the John Milledge's state championship this past fall. Larry does a great job out there. He really makes it easy for me. I don't really have to do much. He takes care of everything. And he's been a pleasure to have. I'm really honored to have him on the sidelines with me. And he's really great with the athletes. The last thing too, in terms of high schools, I try and stress with the athletes, but also the trainers, is injury prevention. That was something that was really important to Dr. Andrews, not just teaching us surgery, but also injury prevention. And I try and stress with the athletes and with any of the athletic trainers that I meet to try and keep the athletes out on the field doing what they love, so that they don't have problems going forward. So I see patients here at Milledgeville, at our Milledgeville office, which is located in the Kroger Shopping Center. And I'm here 24/7. I don't see patients over in Macon. I do surgery here at Navison Health Baldwin at the hospital, but I also do surgery at our surgery center in Macon. That's the only time I go otherwise to Macon, to our beautiful surgery center there. I also do take ER call here at the hospital as well, and have been there since September. I'll just mention some of my other partners too. I'm very fortunate to have a great team here at Ortho Georgia, and we are a team. And I have some wonderful partners that come here as well, including Robbie Thornsberry, who does sports and total joints, John Sapp, who does hand and upper extremity, Ryan Schnetzer, who does spine, and he's a former Georgia football lineman, and Gary Hadaway, who's our general and non-operative orthopedic guy as well. I've been very fortunate to have them around as well and learn from them, and they've taught me a lot as well. As you know, in medicine, it's called a practice because we're always learning and getting better, and so having these guys around has really been a benefit to me. Thank you again for your time. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Sure.
Right, but do you work with the schools other than just at the game time during the week, or I guess during training, during preseason and all that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the big things we do is physicals for the students. And so that's always before seasons. I know we try and do a big physical at Ortho Georgia. It's usually in June, isn't it? I think May. And so we're trying to work on setting something like that up here in the future too. But always, as we can to see the athletes in the office, I always try and make time for them and squeeze them in if they need to have a problem too during the season.
Well, I know you said you're trying to preventive stuff with the schools.
Yep.
You're working with the trainers there to teach them preventive procedure, preventive exercises. Or
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing that, especially when anytime I, meet with the trainers or we go over stuff like that. And that's, something I want to keep the athletes out. As much as I love doing surgery, I'd rather keep them out of the office and keep them on the field and try and work with them on that too. So, yes. Yes, sir.
You work with all these young people. Do you work with old folks?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So I take care from 0 to whatever in terms of age. So, just sports medicine, like I said, isn't just young athletes, but it's people of all ages and problems. The arthritis and things that happen. Unfortunately, as we get younger, is kind of the end game of sports medicine. So we take care of a lot of that too. Yes, sir.
I'd say Ortho Georgia, y'all do a great job.
Thank you.
I played football in college, and if it wasn't for William Brooks and Thornsberry, they keep me mobile, and Don Barringer for a long time. But it's great to know that we have a guy like you in town.
Thank you.
So when I played, we didn't have doctors on the sidelines like that. Just we had therapists. But so
just
like a lot.
Yes, sir.
I've been a patient for 42 years at our Wall of Floyd. I'm ready for Ryan D. High school in North Bank. They replaced the same lead in my career. So I've been a long time patient. Also practice.
Do you have a card you can?
Yeah, we have all the sorts, all the rack cards and whatnot.
Yes.
Susan has a bunch of cards that we can pass out.
I mean, you living in Milledgeville?
Yeah, I live right down the street. Actually, I'm Keith's neighbor, so trying to make sure to shine the lights over there and keep him awake.
Great.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, he's been okay so far. A lot of raucous parties. Yeah.
He's been at the parties, though.
Yeah. Our son TP'd his house. 3-year-old TP'd his house. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
There are two things for you. One is a pen.
Thank you.
As a speaker, you got a pen.
Thank you.
And then we have Jill's books where you can sign that book, we'll put it in the public library.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other announcements?
Just like to remind everybody that we're going to restart Wednesday morning breakfast next week. So 7:30, if you attend, you get a makeup.
All right, thank you. Come visit us again. We're adjourned.